Hello everybody, welcome back. It's business and we're going to do something different this time. I don't intend to play ranked this season. I'm not a big fan of the structure of it, and generally I'd rather just go ahead and play in divisions and have fun with people I know and my viewers and things like that. So subscribers, whatever the case may be. I'm having a lot of fun with that personally, so I think I'm going to probably stay away from ranked this season. However, if you have ranked videos, like today's video, for instance, by all means send them in. I want to live vicariously through you guys on this. And so we'll be following Stannis Baratheon today. And also we have a clip from Citizen Soldier that's not really about him so much as the Turpits on his team. And also we'll be checking out a video from a player named the Revolution 07 in his Fuso on New Dawn. But first things first, take a look at the minimap. Stannis Baratheon, which fantastic name by the way. I loved his character in Game of Thrones, and this is a completely unorthodox maneuver. Like, in ranked, every ship and their position matters so much that you can't really afford to play, for the most part, in a manner like this. And for this to happen the way it does is, like, I don't know, to me it's a double-edged sword. Of course you have the chance of doing something awesome, but there's also the risk of it blowing up in your face. And I mean, granted, that's basically everything to do with this game, but when it comes to something like ranked, you know, these types of movements are so crucial to the team as a whole. It's amazing to see something like this actually work out. So Stannis here is running a B-hull Omaha, and that has more torpedoes, more guns, shorter range, less AA defense than the Sea-hull. And the Sea-hull is effectively a non-premium version of the Murmansk. And it's almost, all of it's almost exactly the same. There are some differences, of course, here and there, but the thing is, when you get into a situation with a Murmansk or an Omaha against the Cleveland, it's almost never in your favor. The Cleveland is a much better ship, offensively speaking, against an Omaha than the vice versa. So it is interesting to see that he lucked out here where he had the Cleveland shooting HE at him as opposed to AP, which probably would have pretty much killed him outright. Now, the torps on this, they come in handy, as you can see, because just by that action alone, he had already pulled his weight this match. And the important thing is, basically Stannis is out of position. In basically relation to the rest of his team, he's out of position. However, because of that, the enemy team, now that they know he's over here and everything, they may see him as an easy kill, so that'll pull them away from being on the rest of his team. It may not necessarily work that way all the time, or it may not be a designed play like that, but because my guess was that he wanted to get in and around behind them and get up around what is it, like D3 D4, and approach that cap from the top. So the interesting part is they trickle in, and he's basically taking the enemy guns away from the rest of his team, and that's actually a really important factor in the course of this match. And he starts engaging in the enemy Königsberg here, has AP loaded up for the first couple salvos, gets a Citadel. Not as good a grouping as the Königsberg because of the fact that the shells, or the guns, are spread out all across the length of the boat as opposed to being concentrated into 3 turrets. So that's a big reason why the Omaha is certainly capable of wrecking enemy cruisers. But when you talk about the Königsberg and the Omaha, the Königsberg has a much more punchy type of kill power to it than the Omaha does. And it's for that reason, because all the firepower is concentrated into 3 turrets, and they tend to group up very well together over any given range. But he takes out the Königsberg, so he's taken out now actually a tier 6 and a tier 5 cruiser, and both of them being fire breathers. That's actually really crucial. There's another cruiser up to his left, and there's also a Congo moving down the 3-4 line, right on the line there, and he should be coming up here any second. And so really, I guess his game plan at this point is to keep doing circles and just see what the hell happens from there. Because, I mean, the thing is, too, there's a Nuremberg off to his left, the Congo up here. So the Congo can see what's happening. You know, he can see his movements. He knows what's going on here, right? That doesn't stop him from walking right into this. And I mean, you know what's coming, otherwise I sure as hell wouldn't be showing it to you, right? So he sends off an initial salvo of HE, switches over to AP to engage the Nuremberg and sets him on fire. And I mean, this Congo doesn't even have his guns trained over towards him, so 6 torpedoes, his entire first spread hits and nearly kills him outright. That's amazing. And meanwhile, he's already engaging the Nuremberg and just leaving the Congo to be whatever he's going to be, and finishes him off. So I can actually say that this is probably the most amount of torpedo hits I've ever seen from an Omaha. You know, it's just not that common for it to get to this point where, you know, it has 10, 11, 12 torpedo hits at all in any given match. I mean, you know, usually you just have one target that falls into that trap, but you don't have 2, and you don't take him down from full health, both of them on that. So he's already done 100,000 damage, has high caliber, that devastating strike, and also, of course, the first blood. Now he is trying to engage the Nuremberg here, just fighting for his life, just trying to get these last shots off, and the Nuremberg is definitely going to get him. But luckily he's got the torps, sends those down. Alright, he's dead now, right? Well, just watch this. Despite everything that happened with the Cleveland, despite everything that happened with the Congo, this guy... I mean, shit, dude. You're in a torp-capable cruiser, and you don't anticipate this at, you know, a few kilometers away, and he's walking right into the max range of the torps. Splat. You gotta be kidding me. That is ridiculous. So again, nice job, Stannis. You did a really odd maneuver that really somehow worked out very well in your favor, and obviously your team's favor too. So you definitely pulled your weight that match, despite being low tier. You know, bravo to you, sir. Now we're going to switch it up, go to Citizen Soldier, which he had the 8-kill Benson game that I featured before. But this isn't actually about him, despite the first clips here showing the movement of the enemy team going up the 8 line. This is just to establish the flow of this match, and also how easy it is to kill an enemy battleship when they're showing their side like this. I mean, it's pretty ridiculous, but at the same time, you know, don't expect these types of results all the time. It doesn't always happen that way, but he's definitely showing how North Carolina is done, and doing some great damage on this enemy Amagi, who's apparently just really reluctant to angle his armor, and, you know, he's paying the price for this. So now, granted, really, Citizen Soldier in this particular instance, he's not actually angled all that well, but he is using the island to good effect here, as you saw from that last salvo. Boom, knocks out the enemy Amagi, and for whatever reason, a few of my replays lately have been super laggy, as you obviously saw there. But this video, this clip, is really just about this Turp. It's Smoke Dog 1877, I think is his name. Now, the shots you hear are from the North Carolina that Citizen's running. You see his shots come in there, do a shitload of damage, 36,000 to that Nagato. Now, just watch this maneuver. This is hilarious. And remember, this is a ranked match, guys. So, he's going balls deep, gonna rush an enemy Nagato and North Carolina. And actually, that's what the salvo was on, my bad. But he gets his torps off at the very last second, right there, just barely. I mean, that had to have been like maybe 10 feet from the minimum arming distance on the torpedoes. Now the problem is, unfortunately, this guy had HE loaded, so he could have done a lot more damage there, maybe even killed him outright. But you got a classic battleship duel here, got all the secondaries firing. There's a Mogami in the northern part of the cap here, so that's what his starboard side is shooting at. And he gets another salvo off right there, but that's not enough to save him as he gets killed right here. Boom. And don't ask me, again, like I said, this whole thing was laggy. The Nagato gets taken out by Citizen Soldier, but the sacrifice of that Tirpitz sealed the deal, so that was just awesome. So way to go to Smoke Dog. Now we're going to move on to our final clip of this video, and that is Revolution 07 in his Fuso. And he's, as you can tell, this is a little bit more zoomed out than normal, so he's running the Field of Vision mod that you can find in Aslan's mod pack. You've seen this before in, let's see, there was that clip that I showed from Slap's perspective when he saved my ass from getting rammed by the New Mexico on straight. And so this is a very interesting match because, one, he does a hell of a lot of damage, but there's something that's been happening a lot lately that, you know, that I've seen in ranked and a lot of you know, comments about in various areas of the game, like whether it's the forums or the game itself, as far as accusations of cheats and, you know, aim bots, aim assists, whatever the hell. Well, this is one of those games. Now, my favorite thing about reading posts as far as aim bots, aim assist, whatever the hell, which, I mean, there's not an aim bot, there is aim assist somewhere out there, but it's indiscernible from skill. You can't tell in this game, like you could a first-person shooter, if somebody was actually cheating or not. There's no way, and no matter what anybody tries to say, you cannot tell the difference because it's a learnable skill. And even if there was a little X pointing to where the Revolution should shoot against this guy in the New York, I would have done the same damn thing. And it works out really well in his favor because 23,000 damage, and guess what? This guy doesn't bother to move. He doesn't change his heading, his speed, there's no deviation whatsoever. And this guy, I don't think, actually mentions anything in the chat whatsoever. It's his teammate in the Fuso. But, you know, what you tend to see a lot of times is people who sail broadside like this with no course corrections whatsoever tend to complain a lot as well about that exact thing as far as cheats. And he takes another 5,400 in damage there. Still, no correction, right? I mean, this is exactly what anybody in a destroyer, carrier, cruiser, a battleship would want. This is the ideal opponent because they're giving you everything you want. And he fires off another salvo, and this New York is still shooting away at somebody else. He's got tunnel vision like crazy, and there's another 9,100 damage. Just remarkable, really. And so I think this is where a lot of people would come up with the suggestion of, oh, well, there needs to be a certain skill level or whatever that you have to be, like, you have to achieve to be able to get involved with rank. Yes and no. I mean, every suggestion has a downside, a drawback to it, and you can't introduce something like this and another 8,400 damage and have those parameters where they exclude a portion, and apparently a good portion, of the player base. And that's what has me really on the fence about anything to do with ranked anymore. I'm not that interested in playing it. It's not the competitive game mode that Wargaming wants you to believe it is, because it's all still random. It's random battles 7-on-7. That's it. So how is that any more competitive than 12v12? It's not. And just because there are some rewards to it, I don't think that justifies calling it a competitive game mode just because you achieve a rank or something. Well, why don't we have the ranks to begin with anyways? You know, it doesn't make any sense, the way that they're, I don't want to say selling it, but how they're selling it. So he takes aim at the enemy Fuso here, and good looking salvo, looks just like the first one against the enemy New York, almost the same results, 23,000 damage. Does a good job there. So, and he's maneuvering a bit. He's staying broadside though, so if anybody was actually shooting at him, like for real, in terms of the battleships, he would have taken a lot of damage by now already. He sends off another salvo, and this time the Fuso is paying attention and maneuvers a little bit out of the way. I'm sure his butt had puckered up at this point though, thinking that he'd get it socked for another 20,000-30,000 damage. So the Revolution hit him with 2 shells, but they were bounces, and now he's going to move in and see what he could do against some of their cruisers as the Fuso turns away. So initially he's looking at the Cleveland here, which looks like the right target, but then the Cleveland starts to turn in towards him, so that's not going to happen. However, there is a Nuremberg over here off to his port side. Looks like he's a juicy target. Takes aim, fires away, and some slight adjustment, I think, here right at the end. Or maybe not. Dispersion kicks in. Basically, not much was going to happen there, unfortunately for him. So he starts taking some damage here, has a couple fires going. Gonna have to go ahead and throw down his repair party as well as his healing to try to gain some of that HP that he lost due to the fires. And takes aim at the Cleveland, fires a full salvo, and let's see the results. Not as good as it should have been, but 5 hits, only 4,000 damage, so it looked like 3 were bounces and 2 were overpens. Now, he did earn high caliber on that though, so he's already doing a good job as far as, you know, pulling his weight, and I mean, earning high caliber in any given match. I mean, you're talking about 30% of the enemy team's total health, and that's a pretty significant portion. When you're talking about ranked, obviously that total pool is smaller, but it also means that the effect is greater because there's fewer ships to be able to make that up and to be able to absorb that damage. So getting high caliber in ranked is actually a really big deal. Now he nails that shit out of him there. 21,000 damage. Good solid salvo. And although it doesn't kill him, it certainly makes this guy reevaluate his approach. Now he's going to try to obviously dump as much damage as he can before he dies and maneuver a little bit, try to stay alive as long as possible. But really, we all know what's going to happen here, and this honestly is exactly what should happen given the angle and the fact that he's turning towards the shells. He's making that kill happen, and just poor play. But apparently he's not allowed to have something like that happen because apparently, if you take a look at the chat, he's a piece of shit aimbotter. Nice. So, having looked up some of the details of the various players in this match, the enemy Fuso who made that accusation he's an above average player, and so it just confuses me that despite most likely having situations where he's had a game like the Revolution is having, you know, it's only skill if he does it. It's hacks if anybody else does it. It's just fucking stupid. I mean, get your shit together. Don't make accusations. It's boring. It's stupid. It makes you look like a retard, and you know, this guy's no different. So now the team did lose 1 destroyer to the Nuremberg. It returns that favor in kind with a good bit of damage on the Nuremberg at a nice range too. Now the Nuremberg just gets taken out right there, so all that's left are the enemy Fuso and the Furitaka. And initially looking at the Fuso, obviously there's no shot there, so switching over to the Furitaka, who is, don't ask me, he's backing up. So he gives him some good lead there, try to account for the fact that he's obviously reversing, and gets nothing. Splashes all around him. So skip ahead to the next salvo, and yeah, you already know what's going to happen here. Bye-bye! Pair of Citadels, and the Furitaka's gone. So now all that's left is the Fuso. And, you know, this is a fantastic match. You know, his team really did work together pretty well in this. They did a good job of positioning themselves with the islands, and obviously the Revolution did as well. Certainly was able to mitigate some of the damage, but then again, he wasn't really shot at all that much, so that also favored him to be able to really focus and, you know, take him maybe an extra second to lead and aim his shots and try to really get the maximum damage he can. And there's another 4 hits, decent range. The Fuso didn't turn in time to avoid, you know, the entirety of the shell, so we don't know exactly how much damage was done there, but regardless, you know, he still took the hits, and it could have been far worse for the guy, obviously, because he still has plenty of health left. Now he's turning off to his starboard side, and while he's engaging another destroyer over there, and that's pretty much walking right into the shots here, and good amount of damage. So the outcome of this match, it's inevitable. Obviously this Fuso is gonna die, and on not this salvo but the next one, I just want to point out, watch the very leftmost shell and where it lands. It's really beautiful to watch a single shell and knowing where it's going to go. It ends up right underneath the Bravo turret, and I love just seeing that single shell penetrate and like do a citadel. It's really nice. But anyways, save the accusations. It doesn't do anybody any good, and there's no way that you can tell if somebody is using an aim assist or not, so there's no point in bothering with wasting your time or effort with it. You know, it's RNG, and I've never once accused anybody in over 3,000 matches that I've played in this game of cheating once, and I never will. And it's a learnable skill. I mean, obviously anybody who's using something like that is a shitbag, and that's that. But I'm not going to waste any more effort on it than that, and I don't think anybody else should either. And if that's a problem for you, then you should probably at the very least not play ranked anymore. But either way, thank you for joining me for the User Replays Ranked Edition, and hope to see you back here soon or on stream. But take care, guys. Good luck out there.